Turkey season's coming up fast. Turkey season always just seems to kind of sneak up on me. This is a video I've been wanting to make for a few years now, but every year time gets away from me and I don't have a chance. Anyway, this is my turkey shotgun. This is the Rossi Tuffy Turkey. I absolutely love this gun. It's a super fun gun. This isn't a 410 here. So just want to go through it with you guys real quick, tell you kind of some changes I made to it, very minor, and just kind of tell you about it and why I love it. Rossi isn't a brand that I have much history with, and I feel like it's a brand that really gets overlooked for the most part. Aside from owning a Rossi like switch barrel 22, 20 gauge as a kid, this is the only Rossi firearm I've owned. That being said, I really do like this gun a lot. This gun is not a well-polished machine by any means. You can find this thing easily for less than $200. A couple boxes of TSS and a decent red dot on top, and you'll easily spend more money in accessories for the shotgun than you'll actually spend on the shotgun itself. The standout feature of this gun is this polymer lower receiver. So on guns like the Savage 301 or pretty much any typical break action, you've got a large steel lower receiver. Now steel is great, it's durable, it's strong, but it's heavy. This Rossi, on the other hand, uses polymer. The nice thing about polymer is it's lightweight. Now this receiver is reinforced with metal where you need it, but it cuts weight where you don't need it. So this gun from the factory without any accessories comes in at 58.8 ounces, which is 3.7 pounds. In contrast, something like the Savage 301 Turkey in a 410 is 5 pounds without anything added, over 1/3 heavier than this Rossi is. Now, aside from this polymer lower receiver, it does have a very thin barrel. Not only is it a thin barrel, but because it's a relatively large bore at 410 for the outside diameter of the barrel, it cuts off a lot of weight, so it's very, very lightweight. Because of those weight-saving features, this gun is extremely handy and just a fun little gun to tote around the woods. Otherwise, for the action, the ejector works just like it should. At a full open, it ejects the shells nicely, but should you want to, just keep them close and unload them by hand, you can open it and remove those shells by hand as long as you don't open it fully. It is just, a very simple break action, so it does have a hammer here. It also has a safety as well. So should you want to have that hammer cocked but have it on safe, you can do that. The trigger definitely leaves something to be desired, at least in my gun. It has a little bit of travel and it's definitely heavier than something you would expect on a nice rifle, but for a shotgun, it's totally serviceable. Again, we're talking about a sub $200 gun here, so we really can't have everything. I've also found that I really like the stock on this gun. It's very thin, very easy to hold and carry through the woods. I was a little bit skeptical about this pistol grip, but I found that I really like it. It is a fairly thin diameter pistol grip, but it still fits my hands nicely. For instance, I wear about a size medium to large glove in like a medical glove, and my hands fit nicely. If you had really big bear paw hands, this grip might be a little small for your taste. It's got a relatively short trigger reach too, so the trigger reach is 1.75 inches. So it's very shootable even for people with smaller hands or even children. Otherwise, for this stock, it does have some cool features. So it's actually got a spacer back here in the back. This spacer extends your length of pull. Length of pull to the trigger is at about 13 inches. So it is a little short if you're a really big guy. I'm a pretty average guy at 5'11", and it's very comfortable for me to shoot. From the factory, this gun does come with shell holders on both sides. They're just black injection molded plastic. As you can see, I've actually taken mine off and put on this other holder, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. This shotgun does come with 2 sling mounts here too. This front one doubles as your kind of takedown pin. So if you want to unscrew this one, it allows you to fold the shotgun in half if you wanted to travel with it. As far as how the gun comes from the factory, really the last thing it comes with is gonna be this Picatinny base. I've had no issues with this Picatinny base. I did remove it, acetoned and cleaned off any grease, and then I remounted it with Loctite. I haven't had any issues with it shifting, and it seems to do the trick just fine. So I would have no qualms using just the factory base. The shotgun comes with 2 removable choke tubes as well. These are great for TSS. I've had no issues with getting the gun to pattern fine with the factory choke for me. As for my modifications, the first thing I did, the first year I used it, I just slapped an Optic on top of it and hunted, and it was fine. Really, I haven't done anything to this gun hardly except for some aesthetic changes. As far as the Optic I've got on here, this is a Riton. little reflex sight. It's gonna be very similar to like a Vortex Venom or to a small Trijicon. So I really don't have much to say about that optic in particular. I did give the shotgun a paint job, so I just cleaned the whole thing, stripped it down, degreased everything, sanded it a little bit, hit it with a coat of primer, and then this is actually a sponge paint job. So I just took like a C sponge you can get at a craft store and used Rust-Oleum camouflage paint to add this paint job. I think it came out pretty dang good, but I'm probably a little bit biased here. Otherwise, as far as modifications go, I did add this sling. This is just like 1-inch webbing. All I did was sewed it together down here at the bottom. And then up here at the top, I just ran it through that loop and back through a ladder lock, so it does have some adjustability. This gun is so lightweight, I very rarely use the sling to carry it, but it is a nice option to have. Last thing I did here was to take off the plastic shell holder and to add this removable Velcro one. Now I like this Velcro one for a couple reasons. One, it's a little bit smaller, so it's just not quite as bulky. It's also just a little bit lighter weight too. As you guys know, I'm a weight weenie, so this Velcro one's a little bit lighter. And then I only found the need to carry 2 shells on my gun. I think the original holder held about 4 or 5 on each side, which I just found a little bit heavy, a little bit noisy, and really just kind of overkill. To me, this one also holds my shells just a little bit more securely, and all I need is a couple extra shells. So what I've got back here, actually, I shoot 9.5 TSS, actually it's an Apex Load that I shoot out of this gun. So I've got 1 extra round of that, so I've got 1 in the chamber and 1 backup round of that, and then the second shell is actually number 7 TSS. Now the reason for that is because where I do a lot of my turkey hunting, we also have wild hogs. I've heard of a lot of stories of guys actually killing wild hogs with headshots with 9.5 TSS, but I wanted something a little bit more powerful with a little bit better penetration. So I did decide to get that 7 TSS to shoot if I saw a hog. I'd have no qualms shooting that at a turkey if I needed a backup shot. Tungsten is crazy stuff when it comes to penetration, so I don't doubt at all getting plenty of penetration even out of a 9.5, but that 7 shot size makes me feel a little bit better. Now the main thing is you do want to make sure that you've got this gun patterned in well with whatever ammo you're going to use. Luckily for me, that 9.5 Apex shot great, so I've never even tried another ammo. This 7 shot size TSS groups right in there with that Apex for me out to about 30 yards. With this gun, I do limit myself to 40 yards. That's not really because my pattern opens up too bad past that, but that's just kind of my self-imposed limit. That's where I want to shoot my turkeys, is 40 and in. Because of, you know, that self-imposed limit, I haven't messed a lot with choke tubes either. So this is the factory choke tube. Like I said, it does come with 2 choke tubes. This is actually, I think, the more open of the 2 here, but I've never even bothered messing with another one because out to 40 yards, it still carries a pattern very well for me. Now, if you wanted to extend that range further, looking into more choke tubes, playing more around with ammo would probably be worth it. But for me, I just really have used it pretty much how it came. As you see here, my total weight is 62.2 ounces. That's including the Optic, the sling, 2 shells, and the shell holder. So that's still significantly lighter than anything else, even bare. And that's totally kitted out. That's still an entire pound lighter than its next closest competitor, that Savage Stevens 301. All in all, I absolutely love this gun. This is really the gun that kind of sent me on the path to building my ultralight mountain rifle. After carrying this gun at less than 4 pounds, it's really hard to go back to a 7, 8, 10 pound rifle for hunting the mountains. So this is just an awesome gun, super fun. Like always, guys, if you have any questions or comments, please drop them below. I try to answer any questions that I get, but thanks for joining me on this video, and I hope you'll stick around.